Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be Euro mounting a deer skull. So I'm going to go through kind of what I use, what you need, some things that are optional. So first, obviously, gotta have the deer skull. This is a San Diego G13 tag. So this is a doe, definitely a larger doe. So some things are going to be different with the doe. You don't have to deal with some antlers, which is nice. But mostly it's going to be the same. First thing you're going to want to have is basically just your average turkey deep frying setup. So I've got propane tank hosed to the fire source, and then a pot. It's filled with water and it's heating up. Then you're going to want a degreaser. What I like to use is just OxyClean. You're going to want a pressure washer. Probably don't want to go over 2000 psi just because you'll damage the skull. Right now I've got on an orbital bit. I was tanning some deer hides, so that's what's on there. That's what I'm going to try to use. Some tongs to retrieve it. I like to use some gloves. You get a little bit better grip on the skull when you're doing it. And then trash bag just to throw the scraps away. I've also, not out here, but I've got some long pliers, like some forceps, to break apart the inside the nose cavity of the deer. So the first thing we got to do is remove all of the hide off the deer skull. So I'm just going to kind of do a time lapse of doing that. You want to try to get as much as you possibly can. It'll help you when you're do the first stage of boiling. A lot of it'll come off. You won't have to do anymore. I don't have a table. It's being used to tan some deer hides, so check out that video. So I'm just using my cooler for now. And also, you're gonna need a knife. I like to use a skinning knife, nice and sharp, and you swap out the blades. Something that's optional is some nice waterproof overalls and some boots, just because when you're pressure washing there's a lot of blowback, so you're gonna end up with stuff in your face if you're not good at it. But I have done 4 of my own. This will be the 5th one, and I've helped some buddies do some with me, so kind of know what I'm doing, kind of don't, but we're just gonna get right into it. Sorry for a bit of an awkward camera angle, but just gonna go with it. First cut I'm gonna make is just kind of right up this snout, and then I'm just gonna kind of work down each side, removing the eyes, all the meat I can get off this thing. This is a bit of a tedious process, but you can definitely do this in your house and just use your stovetop, so don't be afraid to do that. I've done that once, but just found it's easier to do it all outside. Coming through the bottom jaw into where the tongue sits. I'm gonna free up that tongue. Deer tongue. Onyx is now here to investigate. There's the hide. Opened up. Set that to the side. Do not get rid of that tag. Keep that tag. One, you want to keep it just to have for yourself. Other reason, if it's within 30 days of when you shot it, which this is not, but you got to keep that tag on you. So now we're gonna get to moving the jaw. The jaw has a hinge up in here and it locks in. So I still have trouble finding it, but it does go up into that bone. I gotta free it up on both sides. It goes up into here, back kind of behind the eye. And down each side of the jaw on the bottom. Loosens the bottom jaw up. There it goes. Like I said, we're not using the bottom jaw. If you want to keep it, you can, but haven't had good success with the bottom jaw, so. Those teeth, those grinding teeth, pretty interesting the way it hinges up in there. At least I think it is. I got all this meat under here to get off. There's the eyeball. Got that. I don't know if that's the cornea or whatever, but there's a little marble in there. There's that last vertebrae. I left one too many on there, so down to the skull. Just gonna clean up as much of this meat off here as possible. It'll help with first run of boiling it. Okay, so this water's about ready. I'm gonna go in with my Clorox while it's about to boil. Do a scoop and a half of that. If you have antlers on your deer, you're gonna need to tape up those antlers, so you can use some saran wrap and electrical tape. And this is what the deer head looks like right now. Got most of what I can get off, but where these antlers come out, just saran wrap as close to the base of that as you can, electrical tape it, and then you're gonna wanna, when you submerge it, you're gonna wanna keep those antlers out. So whether you use some string to tie them up between the handles or however you wanna do it, but basically that water, it will discolor whatever portion of that antler is underneath that water. So you'll probably get some of it anyways. You can go back in with like a wood dye and recolor it, but it will whiten up those antlers quite a bit. So I got most of the meat that I can get off here. Got some of the sinus cavity cleared out. Once we boil this once, we'll get as much of the brain out and the ear canals out, pressure wash everything, and then get it back into a boil again. Make sure that thing, all the air is out of everything and it is submerged completely. Browns up almost immediately. So just make sure that gets in there, get those air bubbles out. Don't want it to float. Let that sit in there for, probably check it in 15 minutes or so. Okay, so it's been about 15 minutes. As you can tell, all this meat is just falling off. It's turned kind of yellow and discolored. Places I'm being careful for is around this nasal passage. I'm probably gonna fail and blow that out. And then inside the nostril. But most of it's pretty cleaned off, so we'll give it a pressure wash and see how it goes. Kind of looking for this nose right here to split. That's when it's kind of ready and it's split, so I'm gonna go for it. Really want to get everything out of the sinus, everything out of the brain cavity, and then you've got to knock these ear canals out. All these little pieces you want out of there. Since these blew out anyways, this deer, because it's a doe, I'm actually gonna mount this outside, so I'm not super worried about the looks of it. If it was a buck, I'd be wanting to put it inside and super anal about cleaning it, but not super concerned. For instance, this type of stuff is all in that nose. You really want to make sure you get all that out. This could have probably been in there a little bit longer. So I'm gonna throw this back in. Give it one more little pressure wash and throw it back in. Let it get the rest of this gunk off. But it also, this little portion that runs up the nose broke, which I'm not too concerned about. Okay, so this has been going for about another 7 minutes. Gonna just get everything I can off here. I think that's about all I'm gonna get. Gonna go ahead and make the peroxide bath. Get it whitened up in there. Okay, so got that deer skull as clean as I really wanted. So some brown on the teeth. Brown, just a little bit of brown up in there. Now we're going to put some of this 40 volume peroxide, crystal clear peroxide. You can just get the stuff on Amazon. We're gonna, I don't really know how much I dump in there. This bottle is probably about and a quarter left, and I've done 7, 5, 6 deer skulls with it, so this will last you a while. But it's gonna really whiten it up and take everything else off, all the stuff the degreaser couldn't get. So we're gonna do this, probably give it about 10 minutes, keep an eye on it, and then pressure wash it one last time. And then we're gonna mount it with some screws and a hanger, and I'll show you how I do that. Actually, before we do that, we're gonna put some mop and glow on it to hold that shine in, and then do that. So I have no idea the correct amount. Like, people that do this professionally, I have no idea. So this is a total guess, but and just keep in mind that the more you boil bone, obviously the more it breaks down. So you want to keep your boils to as short as possible without sacrificing a bad look on the meat. Let that go for 10 minutes or so, and then we'll check back in. Okay, so it's been going for about 10 minutes. There's definitely still a little brown around the back of the skull. I think that this thing sat defrosted for like 2 days, and I think a lot of the grease from the brain got in there and just kind of tarnished the bone. Like I said before, not too worried about it. It's gonna be mounted outside. But I'm gonna shut this off, pressure wash the last little bit, let it sit out and dry, and then get on to the next part. Okay, we're gonna call that good. This nose is getting real fragile, and the teeth cleaned up a bit. There's still a lot of gunk in there. There's some cavities with some stuff, but I'd say overall looks pretty good. So I'm gonna stop there before I do any damage. And now I'm just gonna leave this in the sun to dry as much as possible. Pack everything up, and then see inside when we put the mop and glow and mount the bracket to it. Okay guys, so we are on to the final portion of this Euro mounting, which is gonna be mounting the bracket on the back side of the skull right here, and then giving it a good coat of mop and glow, and then it's just gonna be left to dry, and then you're ready to mount it. So first thing that I'm gonna do is take, out of my pocket. So this is just like a picture hanging bracket. You can buy a pack of them, like a 50 pack of them on Amazon for, I don't know, 15 bucks. I bought them so long ago, I don't even know. And they come with just some little like stainless steel screws. So I'm gonna take this, and I'm gonna need kind of both hands. I'm gonna take a Sharpie and mark my holes, and then just very gently drill them out and screw it in. You want it as high up on here against this where the vertebrae connects as possible, so that it can hang and hang right. So you want to put it right about, somewhere right about in there. I'll show you when I'm done. And you want this skull to basically, you know, look like this. So I'm gonna put this bracket over here. Do one hole, get it kind of snug, and then mark the second hole so that I can kind of adjust it straight. So you want to get a bit that is about the same diameter as your screw. So I'm going with this 1/8 bit. It's going to depend on the screw that you've got to go in there. So attach the bit and put this on a slow setting so that you do not damage anything. Go slow. It's pretty easy. It goes in pretty easy, but just take your time so you don't damage anything. It's important to pre-drill your holes so that you don't just push the screw in and then actually crack this. Probably smartest to do this bit with a screwdriver so that you don't gork that in there. If you pick the right drill bit size, it should thread in somewhat nicely. These things are light. They do not need to be super tight. So that's what it's gonna look like. I'm going to now do this second hole. Thread this in. Then you've got your hanger on there. This will just hang on a screw or anything you want it to. I've also got my tag rolled up inside my casing that I'm just gonna literally, when I'm done, drop this into the back of the brain cavity, and it can just sit in there so it stays with it. So now I'm gonna take just Mop and Glow, classic Mop and Glow, give it a little shake, and then I'm just gonna kind of douse this paper towel in Mop and Glow and just rub it all over the deer skull, mostly the front side, everything you're gonna see. Backside, not too worried about, but I'm gonna throw some on there. So you can definitely use a paintbrush for this, it'd probably be better, but I don't have one. It's really gonna give it a nice little shine, as well as preserving. So there you have it, a nice Euro-mounted doe skull with a little clear coat on it. It's gonna look pretty cool hanging up. Thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to check out my deer hide tanning video. Those are the hides drying right there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. It's happening more than it should. I think I'd learned by now.